Something I like to do every now and then is check in on the Wii U. Despite the lack of third-party developer support or Nintendo cutting its lifecycle short before its natural death, the Nintendo Wii U still has things going for it, other than being a collector's item. In fact, I think it's the great gaming bargain of 2021 for people wanting to get into Nintendo gaming on Nintendo hardware. And in this video, I'll explain why that is the case. Of course, you could just go down the emulation route, but that's not the point of this video. I like and use both emulators as well as genuine hardware, and this video isn't about emulation but rather the versatility and value for money the Wii U provides for people wanting to jump into Nintendo gaming. Another angle is to just go with a Nintendo Switch. Of course, you'll get access to the newest games and even a couple of notable remakes and remasters, but I think it doesn't do that well when it comes to giving you access to a variety of notable classic Nintendo games. So that's why I want to bring up the Wii U specifically. It allows you to dip your toes into many different aspects and eras, and it's just new enough that you can even play recent stuff like Mario Kart 8, Splatoon, and Zelda Breath of the Wild. Anyway, there's a number of points to make, so let's start with the first one. The first reason is pricing. Remember that recent video about how used Nintendo Switch games are so expensive? This video is kind of a result of that train of thought. Because with the Wii U, the situation is the opposite. Consoles and games are relatively cheap. I saw a Zelda Edition Wii U on eBay for just $220 the other day. And sometimes you can get deals where the system even comes with a bunch of popular games. Most of the games are pretty reasonably priced. I saw Mario Kart 8 and Super Mario 3D World in the $10 to $25 Canadian range. Somewhat of an exception is Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's not like you can't find a cheap copy, but pricing seems to be a bit more all over the place. There is a misprint version that shows support for controllers on the back it's actually not compatible with, so there's people trying to sell those for higher prices. So obviously just don't buy those if you just want to play the game. But still, I thought that was just an interesting fact. It turns out that I own the early misprint version, but it's also worth mentioning that the regular versions are a bit closer to full retail price just because it's still the newest game in the series. Basically, most Wii U games that were ported to the Switch are quite cheap. Of course, it's worth mentioning that many of the Switch ports do have some extra functionality or content, but it's up to you if that's worth the premium. Depends on the game too, because some have more new content than others. The amount of Wii U exclusives is quite small now compared to how things were before, but some still exist. For example, there's the original Splatoon. I think that's very much worth playing, even just for the fact that it's a new franchise Nintendo came up with in recent times that happened to achieve success. That's kind of difficult for companies that are known for games and characters that are decades old. Splatoon I picked up for around $12 a few years ago, but still, I looked at the pricing now and it seems to be around that level. It's definitely worth going through a couple of best Wii U games lists, seeing what you think you like, and then searching them up on eBay. There's a lot of cheap stuff you can find. Of course, you don't, necessarily want to go looking for AAA games you'd normally find on PC or other consoles. Usually they don't exist in the first place, and if they do, they often don't run well anyway, like the Assassin's Creed games, for example. But then again, if they're cheap enough, you might want to pick them up just, for novelty's sake. It's interesting to see how badly some of them run compared to the other versions there. But it's not just Wii U games. It is a Wii, so it can play Wii games natively. Then there's the Virtual Console, which gives you access to Nintendo games from basically every era. In fact, if you're wanting to play, let's say, Mario and Zelda games, then the Wii U is basically, or possibly, the best console to get, as it covers so many games. When it comes to Zelda, for instance, you can play 12 games on the Wii U. That includes the newest game in the series as well, so that's quite a range. Of course, the remake of Link's Awakening and the remaster of Skyward Sword are Switch exclusives, but the original versions can be played on a Wii U. Plus, you get access to the remasters of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, which are fan-favorite games, and the HD remasters are Wii U exclusives. Something worth bringing up too is DS games. The Virtual Console has DS games, and the way it works is that the tablet controller serves as the bottom touchscreen. Given the anatomy of the Wii U, it means that it's the only console other than the DS or 3DS that can play DS games, as intended. So overall, when it comes to the spectrum of Nintendo gaming, the Wii U covers anything from the NES all the way up to slightly older than present day. Not to get sidetracked or anything, but Nintendo really missed an opportunity with the Switch. They aren't offering their old games outside of their online subscription service, and I think that's a mistake. But anyways, multiplayer is something I want to bring up, especially with games like Splatoon and Mario Kart 8. Normally when it comes to older systems, my recommendations are done purely from a single player or perhaps local multiplayer perspective. But in this case, the Wii U still has an active player base to some degree. 2 years ago I tried Super Smash Bros., but I couldn't find anyone to fight against, and that hasn't changed now. But Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon are another story. Over the last 2 years, nothing seems to have changed really. I was still able to easily join races or matches. Sometimes you'd have to wait around for a few minutes to get more players, but it's not really a problem. In fact, I decided to not even record the gameplay footage because, the situation is basically the same in 2019 as it is now. That's how it was anyways from my couple of days of testing. And the fact that multiplayer for popular games is still active brings me on to this point. The Wii U is still new enough. It has an HDMI port, so it works with modern TVs. The most recent TV I bought didn't have a component input anymore, just composite, which is gross. So not having to worry about a high quality input into a modern TV is a good thing. Because if you go earlier than that, then things get a little bit sketchy. Or you have to buy adapters, which is not always the most terrible thing ever. But anyways, this is a very easy solution. Now, I haven't done this, but the Wii U is also moddable, I should mention. This allows you to do a number of things, as you can imagine, like run games off of a storage medium, as well as play games from prior generation. That's an avenue worth exploring, but I don't have more to say to that because I haven't done that. But yeah, there you go. The Nintendo Wii U has many great games, and if you're wanting to get into Nintendo gaming specifically, then this is a really great place to get started. I hope you enjoyed this look at the system in 2021. If you are interested in supporting the channel, check out patreon.com/ysn. You get to see videos a day or two before they come out, and there's exclusive update posts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.